By York Yeager.
York?
Good morning. My name is York Yeager. I was the Republican candidate for state attorney in this circuit. I ran as a Republican because I've been a lifelong Republican, and the reason I ran is when I watched that Casey Anthony case, and I saw Jeffrey Ashton laughing out loud, as all of you did, during final argument to the jury, where he was asking 12 people to put a fellow citizen to death. For him to laugh, I thought was reprehensible. I ran for 3 reasons. One, that Lawson Lamar didn't come out of his office and fire him on the spot. 2, I wanted to see a veterans court or veterans diversion program established in this circuit like they have in Duval County. And 3, I wanted to see a citizens review committee through the state attorney's office. Then the gentleman from the Sentinel wrote an article saying that if I ran, I was going to deprive Republicans and independents of voting in the primary, that it would be a closed primary. And Mr. Maxwell made me think. I didn't want to deprive 180,000 independents of voting in that primary. So I called Mr. Lamar, asked him to have lunch with me. I asked him, would he support a veterans court or veterans diversion program? He said he'd look into it. I asked him if he would support a citizen review committee made up of all races, ethnicities, to review not only police actions, but state attorney's office actions. And he said he'd look into it. He got back with me the next week. He had gone to the VA and talked to the VA and arranged with the VA to have a diversion program for our vets returning from Afghanistan and Iraq who are not getting VA treatments and need their medications. These people who honorably served. And let me say this too. I don't need a script to read off of. I just saw 2 young men trash a good man. A man who, before they were a glint in their daddy's eye, was serving this country in Vietnam and didn't get but earned a Bronze Star, because they don't give those to people. You have to earn them through leadership. Lawson's never told anybody he's a Bronze Star holder. He's got it in his lapel now. I saw him this weekend and he didn't even wear a Vietnam vet cap because he doesn't like to play on those type of things. He doesn't wear his airborne wings. But this is a man that's got some integrity and got leadership. All you need to know about Jeff Ashton is read his book, where Jeff says he won 11 out of 11 death penalty cases. That's a lie before God, who Jeff doesn't believe in, by the way, which is kind of funny when you see him. I hired Jeff, I know him. For 30 years he's been telling people he's an atheist, which is really funny when you see him at the Apopka prayer breakfast and praying. Who's he praying to? That kind of makes me chuckle. But he said he won 11 out of 11 death penalty cases. I beat him in one, and Buck Blankner beat him in a Bellamy case. Ask him to explain that. It's on record, you can pull it. Not guilty on Bellamy. And on mine it came back manslaughter without a weapon. In his book, he wrote that when he was in charge of juvenile division, he had 12 people to supervise. He called himself an overpriced desk ornament. It's in his own book. He wrote it, and he hated it, wanted to get back in trials. And now he's telling you, the people of this county, he wants to supervise 365 people when he couldn't even supervise 12. And look at his financial responsibility. Is that who you want running a multi-million-dollar budget? I am here to endorse Lawson L. Lamar. He didn't ask me to do it, and you know what? I didn't plan to do it. But when I saw the young man endorsing Jeff, I asked Mr. Lamar's campaign manager to get Lawson down here. As you know, there was no announcement as to this. But I urge everybody, every Republican out there, every Democrat out there, to endorse this man, support him. The last thing I want to tell you is that Citizen Review Committee, where a panel of people, black, white, brown, orange, whatever, are going to be reviewing the actions of the state attorney's office, reviewing death penalty cases, reviewing actions of the police. You know who this man put in charge of that panel? Paul Sneed. You know who Paul Sneed is? Paul Sneed was district administrator of HRS in the 9-county circuit here for 19 years under Republican and Democratic governors. He's also one of the 100 top black men of Orlando, which is a wonderful organization that has kids from Jones High School getting scholarships. They have 28 kids getting scholarships to colleges. Paul's leading that, along with Chief Judge Belvin Perry and others. That's who he put in charge of that program. And that's why I'm supporting Lawson L. Lamar, the only person in this race who has actually shown leadership, who has kept this office together. And unlike other state attorneys, he hadn't had to let anybody go. He hasn't put them on short rations, and he hasn't made them take Fridays off like some of the other circuits. He's managed his budget. Ask Ashton if he can manage a budget. He can't manage his own credit cards. Thank you very much.
Jörg, thank you for the endorsement. Again, this was unplanned. I just got a call upstairs to come down. I am grateful for Jörg Yeager's endorsement because when we had 4 candidates in the race, he was the only other candidate with any leadership ability or experience. He led a bureau for me. He worked his way up from trial lawyer to bureau chief. He did an excellent job of leading a bureau for me. No one else in this campaign except Mr. Yeager and I have ever led anything. I have a lifetime of leadership. Mr. Yeager has a law firm, a very successful law firm that he leads, he meets budget, and he does a great job with it. So I am extremely gratified that he would come forward with his explanation that he is endorsing me because of leadership. We're going to have a restorative justice agreement with the VA, with the Public Defender's Office, and with pretrial diversion. I will be announcing that later. I also have a Community Advisory Council which will be available to me should we have a high-tension case or issues where I feel that the State Attorney's Office needs advice from a highly intelligent group of people that represents not lawyers but the citizens across the board in Orange County, Florida. That will also be announced later. Those are 2 great ideas that Mr. Yeager gave me. I adopted them, and he stepped out of the way for my candidacy. He's a leader. I believe in him. I believe in my office. I have the team that sends more felons to prison than Miami. We've lowered juvenile violent crime by over 60%, and folks, that's all about management. The opponents cannot rewrite the job description of state attorney to be trial lawyer. I was a trial lawyer. I worked my way up. My place is not to satisfy my ego in the courtroom, but to run 145 lawyers so that they're doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. That's what I do for you each and every day. I don't try to look flashy or good. I'm not about looking at me. I'm about running the most efficient state attorney's office in the entire state of Florida. I thank you for your time. Thanks a bunch.
Mr. Lamar, what?
Yes.
A couple
Let's get a couple of questions.
Sure.
I wanted to ask your response to the accusation that you threw your lawyers under, or your prosecutors under the bus and blamed the victims in the case.
Once again, like I said earlier, I don't think you were here, Drew. We're not going to be playing politics with the tragic death of 2 young people.
But you have spoken out about it, so it's not.
We did.
You're not asking for the first
We have
time.
had all we need to say about that. That is old news. It's capitalizing to sell ad time and ratings on the death of 2 young people. That's been dealt with. The young man who didn't follow instructions fully was admonished. He was an excellent young lawyer. He is an excellent young lawyer. He's a man of integrity. He left on his own. I told him personally that his job was safe here at the State Attorney's Office, but he needed to follow our instructions on how to do his job. He did not follow instructions. He was admonished. He decided to go on to civilian practice. He was not fired. He was not trashed. He was not thrown under the bus. That is a bunch of hooey. All right,
Do you
I'm
take
done
any-
with that
Do you
topic.
take any responsibility though for that? You did just say it's your job to oversee the 140.
I take total responsibility for the discipline in that case, which was a written reprimand. I also met with the young lawyer, who is a fine young man, and told him that his job was not in jeopardy, and I knew that he was a man of integrity who had merely not followed an instruction. If you depart downward in my office, you have to see a supervisor. He did not see that supervisor. He received a written admonition. He had lots of time to work on the case. He was doing what he thought was ethical and appropriate. He did break one rule. He could still be here today with undiminished pay and undiminished responsibility, except for the fact that he got a really good offer on the outside. So nobody has been thrown under the bus, and I have all these years of leadership at the sheriff's office, here and in the military, and I have never trashed a subordinate for trying to do the right thing. I never will, and that's the end of that topic. Any other questions?
What's
other
your
than the
response to this endorsement?
Beg pardon?
What's your response to Ashton's endorsement?
The response to the endorsement of Ashton is now they have the sum total of their leadership experience. 0 plus 0 equals 0. That's it. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.